Good to have you home, Lori Jones. Last week, Reverend Shannon taught us about the spiritual principle of patience. And she spoke about how when we plant a seed, growth is happening below the soil, below the ground, where we can't see it. And she reminded us that love, too, is patient. And when we are patient, we can see love grow in our lives and in the world. I was driving home from that talk. After that talk, we had a beautiful board meeting. And then that afternoon, I was driving home, and as I pulled up to my house, I saw my wonderful husband, Michael, was in the front yard throwing the ball for the dog. How many hours a day do you think that dog just chases a tennis ball? It's his joy. And gardening, because that's what he does while the dog is chasing. Husband is digging in the garden. And I was thinking about Reverend Shannon's talk. I was thinking about those seeds that we plant and how it takes patience to watch them bloom. And I was thinking about my own journey with patience and how far I have come and how very far I still have to go. And I see my husband, I pull up, I'm a little tired, and I see my husband, and he's in the lily garden. And I want to talk today about our lilies. Our lilies are really special to us, and we're going to talk about why here in a minute. But before we talk about the lilies, there's something that I want to name. There is a lot of pain in the field right now. There's a lot of grief in the field. There's been a lot of loss and a lot of change, a lot of life-altering change. And I think it's really important for us to name that so we can presence it without diminishing it and without catastrophizing it, just naming it and allowing it to be what it is. And so today, we're not going to talk about the grief. We do that sometimes. That's not what today is about. Today, we're going to talk about what lives on. We're going to talk about what we can learn and how we can celebrate life even in the face of loss. We're going to talk about how do we nourish ourselves and how do we work with life to leave a legacy of love. So here's the story of my lilies. Some of you know this story because Chris was a founding member of this community. And the lilies that we have at our house are some of Chris's lilies. We have a lily garden here outside of the community hall. There, in that corner of the building. We have some of Chris's lilies in there. So Chris was a beautiful man that I met over 20 years ago. We worked together. And he was married to our previous music minister, our beloved David. And he was father to Joe. And he was a beloved figure around here, an important member of our choir. And Chris was one of the most encouraging human beings I ever met, even after the devastating diagnosis of ALS. He continued to encourage and to give and to love. So Chris was a master gardener who loved lilies. And a few years after his transition, David decided it was time to sell their home. And he called those of us who love Chris and said, come get some of Chris's lilies if you'd like some for your garden. So my beloved gardening husband trotted over to David and Chris's house, and he got, he probably got a dozen plants, but we only kept about 6 of those plants. He gave them away to other people as well. And so we put our half a dozen plants in the ground and gave some away, and we put some here. Anybody in here have some of Chris's lilies? Yeah, one. So there are Chris's lilies all over the town by now because we have moved twice since then. And every time we move, we leave some of Chris's lilies. And some of Chris's lilies come with us. They came with us to our last house, and they have come with us to this house. Oh. And it makes me wonder how many more places in the world have been made more beautiful because of this man's soul. How many places are more beautiful because Chris gave of himself? And Chris's lilies keep giving to us long after his life on this plane. Every time I see a lily, I think about his loving smile. Every time I see a lily, I think about his mischievous laugh and how he just loved all of us. Chris's lilies were a gift that we received with gratitude and with love. And this gift keeps returning to us every year. And in fact, they're multiplying themselves. How many lily plants do you think we have in our current house alone? At least 20, maybe more. And that doesn't count the ones that we've left in other places and given away, right? In fact, there's a picture. John, do you have a picture? That's just like a tiny, this is like yesterday I went out with my cell phone and snapped a picture. These are my favorite of Chris's lilies that we have. We have several different varieties of Chris's lilies, but I love these maroony pink darlings that are in bloom right now. So part of the reason why we have lilies all over our house is because of Chris and the legacy of beauty that he left behind. But another part of the reason that we have lilies all over our house is because, thank God, I married a gardener. And he takes good care of them, you know? He works with nature. He works with the nature of the lilies themselves. And he manages to co-create something beautiful in the world. In the spring, he makes sure that the soil has the nutrients that it needs. In the summer, he makes sure that that they have the water that they need. And then in the late summer, he cuts them back to where he leaves the parts of the plant that still serve the plant, and he lets everything else go. In the winter, he lets them rest, and he rests too, sort of. He's a doer. But you see, this activity of loving care that happens means that that gift that we receive, we put a little bit of energy into, and then we receive that gift again and again and again. And over all of this, I feel Chris like a blossoming angel whistling a song, hanging over it, you know? And that energy of love never goes away. We never lose it. So there are many, many things I love about this process with the lilies. One of them is that we get to remember Chris. And I love that. I love that we get to remember this man that we love dearly. Love that we get to celebrate his life. And that it doesn't matter which side of the veil he's on, that love is never wasted, that love still continues. I love that about the lilies. The lilies remind me that love lives on. It reminds me that love isn't wasted, it's transformed. It's different now. It's different than the love we shared when he was on this side of life, you know? And that's okay. But what I really love about Chris's lilies is that it reminds me that when we care for what we have been given, what we've been given serves us. And it becomes this cycle of life, this circulation of good that is never ending. That love that provides, that Lori Jones just taught us about in such a beautiful song, that love that provides, we receive it, and then we amplify it, and then we send it back out. That's the activity of life that we're going to talk about today. So thinking about how Michael nourishes his garden made me wonder, does anybody take care of me that way? Do I take care of me that way? Could I possibly love and nurture myself so completely that I create a safe space for me to grow and to bloom and to rest? Can you nourish yourself so completely that you create a safe space to grow and to bloom and to rest? Today's talk is called Soul Food. Soul food, because we're digging into, see what I did there? Digging it. Thank you, Karen. We are digging into the things that help us to create this space, that space to nourish our souls and our bodies so completely that the nourishment itself returns to us. What do I mean by that? The way that Michael takes care of the lilies creates a space for them to give back. It's in the way he shows up, day in and day out. It's in the way that he gives the garden his attention. It's in the way he brings his knowledge about gardening and his soul that loves to nurture things. He gives it time. He gives it love. And this taught me something about how we nourish. Show up. Pay attention. Give it your gifts. And then give it love. And we're going to dig into those 4 things. Show up, pay attention, give it your gifts, and give it some love. And then watch how this cycle feeds you. So let's dig into that a little bit. When we do these 4 things, when we do them all together, when we nourish the world, we are nourished in return. So showing up. There's a fine balance between knowing when it's time to show up for yourself and when it's time to show up for the world. Sometimes showing up starts here. Sometimes showing up means retreating a little bit, and that's okay, because you're showing up for yourself. So I want to be really clear about what showing up is. Showing up doesn't mean you have to be here all the time. You don't. That's not what showing up is. Showing up is aligning with your authentic truth and being that wherever you are. Showing up as you wherever you are, whether that's in a space with yourself or whether that's in a space with other people. But here's the thing about showing up. There is a thing that I have learned, that when I show up, I find that God has already shown up. And there's a comfort in that for me. That God is already in the room. And all I have to do is show up there. And the space has already been made. There was a Christian comedic writer named Mike Yaconelli, and he said, "I'm unfinished. I'm unfixed." And the reality is that that's where God meets me. It's in the mess of my life, in the unfixedness. It's in the unfixedness. It's in the unfinishedness. A couple of weeks ago, we talked about how God is the infinite circle and we are the finite circle. And God is the wholeness, the infinite wholeness, and so we are whole, right? And we talked about that place where we meet Spirit. But guess what? Spirit doesn't only meet us when we are remembering our perfection. Praise God. Because God is already there. God is already showing up. The wholeness of God meets us everywhere we are. God shows up. But the thing about showing up is that when Michael shows up in his garden, not only is God already there in the garden, but Michael is bringing God to the garden. Michael brings love to the garden. Michael brings the willingness to be a co-creator with that spirit, that divinity. So God shows up, but when Michael shows up, it amplifies the good, it amplifies the God. When Donna shows up at the easel to paint, right? She's replicating the divine nature of creativity in her workshop. When Rand shows up to do sound, he's replicating. When he shows up, he is replicating the divine nature of technical genius, because that's what it takes to amplify this. It's a whole situation. When Rand shows up, he's amplifying the nature of divinity in this room. When Lori Jones shows up, did you see it? I saw it. I saw God show up right here on this platform. God showed up because Lori showed up. And that's how it works. You know, divinity's already there, but then when we show up, it's magnified, it's amplified, and it's glorious. When you show up, what aspect of the divine is showing up to? Maybe it's love, maybe it's kindness. Maybe you're a beautiful painter like Donna or a beautiful singer like Lori Jones. Maybe you know how to teach college students. Maybe you know how to run a camera and sing like an angel, Shayla Bailey. When you show up, what are you amplifying? What are you bringing to the party? So number one, show up. Number two is paying attention. Mary Oliver wrote, to pay attention, this is our endless and proper work. To pay attention is our endless and proper work. Whatever you want to nurture, there is a cost, and it's your attention. We were watching the Olympic trials this week. I love the Olympics. Some of y'all are sport ball people, and some of y'all are like, what are other sports? I don't know. I'm Olympics people. I get so excited for the Olympics. So we were watching Olympic trials, go Team USA, and I heard there was a guy who was an announcer. We were watching track and field, and there was a guy who was an announcer who was a former athlete, and he said, you know, there's a price that you pay, and it's attention, and it's the least expensive thing that you will ever pay, and it's the most important. And I thought, well, my golly, isn't that true? Attention is the lowest price you're going to pay, but it's the most important thing. And I agree with that because we know that what we pay attention to grows. We know that. We know that when we are attending to our self-care, everything gets better. We know that if we want to succeed at something, we have to attend to it. The word, the Latin root of attention comes from attendere, which means to extend the mind or energies to. So when we pay attention, there's a reaching out action of it. There's an extending of our energies. And what we know about energy is that there has to be an equal exchange. And so when we pay attention, something else is given energy, and that energy gets spent somewhere else. That didn't make any sense at all. Let me try again. The energies must always be in balance. So we have to be open to give, but we also have to be open to receive. Both things have to be true. Otherwise, we're out of balance. When we extend our energy out, we have to be willing to accept energy back. And it might show up in the same way that we gave it. It might show up in a different form. So we might give our beautiful Colorado people who are gathering today. Hello, beautiful NTCSL Colorado. Our Colorado people were making, they were decorating bags that they were filling with things for people to keep in their cars to give to homeless. Hygiene kits, things like that. And when we do that, when we give, when we put together something with the intention of giving it to someone, right? When we give, the thing that comes back to us is probably not going to be a hygiene kit. And that's okay. The thing that comes back to us might be joy, a greater opportunity to give. You know, the energy exchange that happens isn't a tit for tat. This isn't some kind of transactional relationship. This is spirit. This is the divine happening here. So we open to give and we open to receive. And there's a trust that has to happen in that. A trust that what we receive will be what we need. We're filling someone else's need. And sometimes, it's probably just me. Sometimes we're so blind to our own needs that when that thing comes back to us, we don't even recognize it for the gift that it is. I'm sure that's just me. I'm sure all of you are so in touch with your needs that you have no idea what I'm talking about, and I celebrate that for you. I celebrate that for you. I'm not there yet. I still have some work to do. So, if you're feeling depleted right now, I'm going to invite you to look at two things. I'm going to invite you to see where you're giving and how you're receiving. Are you open? Do you trust that what is coming back to you is what you need? How do we know that what the experience we're having is the experience we need? Because that's the experience we're having, right? Can we trust that? That's hard sometimes. That's hard. So make sure that you're paying attention to what you're extending and what you're receiving, so you're not overextending and getting out of balance, right? And then I'm going to invite you to, if you're feeling overextended, to pay attention, pay careful attention to your self-care. What really fills you up? What really nourishes you? Make it happen. Okay, showing up, paying attention. Number 3, expressing your unique gifts. I have a confession, and Terry Christopher, I hope you still love me after this confession. I can't garden. I'm a terrible gardener. I am. I'm awful. I used to try and garden with my husband. He would go through a huge garden bed and he would weed and then he would compost and then he would go back inside for lunch and I would be sitting on the ground. I don't know if the camera can track me here. With tweezers, plucking out all of the little things that were left behind. It's hell. It's hell to garden as Shelly Walker. All I could see was like that it wasn't what I had in my head. I can look at any of your gardens and appreciate it unconditionally, no matter what state it's in. I love messy gardens. I love ornate gardens. I love rigid, like English gardens. You name it, I love it. But if it's my garden, all I see are the things that are wrong and all of the weeding that needs to get done, and I get overwhelmed and I walk away. Gardening does not feed my soul. It stresses me out to no end. To no end. I feel like I just had like a true confession, and I'm not sure how I feel about myself right now. Okay, here's the thing though. I can't garden. Now we all know that. But I can write a talk. I can teach a class. I can make a mean salad with all those lettuce and tomatoes that he grows. I can raise compassionate children who sing like birds. You know? The thing is that we don't all have to be gardeners. God has given us gardeners, and we love them. But we also need other gifts. And the thing for us to remember is that we each get to show up with our unique gifts. There's an energy of life that is always attempting to express. To press out is what express means, right? So it's a thing that is yearning to happen from you out into the world. There's this activity of life that is yearning to happen in you. And when you acquiesce, when you say yes, what happens is you create a current, a flow. This expression that is happening creates a riptide, if you will. And this current can either pull you forward into your next greater yet to be, or you can fight the current and get exhausted. It's exhausting to fight the current of your life. So in this desire to express whatever your unique gifts are, and you all have them, and I hope you all know what they are. If you don't, we'll talk. I have some ideas for most of you, although there's a few of you I don't know. I'd love to learn about your gifts. It's not just about being willing to paint, being willing to be vulnerable and stand up here and sing. It's not just about being willing to give the gifts. It's about being willing to surrender to the flow that happens when we do. And this is something I feel like we don't talk about that much. I feel like we don't really talk about the surrender aspect of it, the trust aspect of it. Do you know, in all these pages, I never wrote the word trust, but it keeps coming up again and again, because until we trust the process, we're fighting the process. Trust is so important. So expressing your unique gifts means letting love be love in you, letting light be light in you, being willing to trust and surrender to the idea that you have something to give because you do, and being willing to allow that current to pull you forward. Allow yourself to express in your unique way, because that's why you were put here now in these very interesting times. So it was show up, pay attention, express your unique gift. And the last thing that I noticed in the way Michael takes care of his garden is that he gives it love. And because of all of that love that he gives it, there's a cycle of circulation of good that happens. He gives love, he receives beauty. He gives love, he receives grace. He gives love, he receives. As a gardener, when he gardens, he actually gets joy. And there's this symbiotic relationship between dirt and his soul that I don't share, but I celebrate it in you. There's science about this. Right, Terry? There's actual science about this, about how when gardeners put their fingers in the dirt, just the activity of gardening itself changes a gardener's gut biome. It fascinates me. I'm a little jealous. I kind of wish I were a gardener, but I'm clearly not. So when he gives love and he receives beauty, when he gives love and he receives that change in him that brings him joy, right? There's a cycle, there's a circulation that's happening there. There's an equal exchange of energy that is happening. I don't understand the alchemy of how a seed and a soil and a water make a lily. I just don't understand that. I don't understand the science of it. I don't understand the biology of it. I just have a deep appreciation of it. The same thing is true of our relationship with God. I can't see what's happening. I don't understand how it works. I have taken 1,000,000 classes and written a lot of 20-page papers in my master's program. Nobody knows. That's all I've learned. Nobody knows. We're all just walking each other home. That's what I have learned in ministerial school so far. Dr. Cece, I hope you're not watching this talk. We don't have to see it to know that it's working. We don't have to see the activity of love to know that love is providing for us. We don't have to see the prayer to feel it working in our life. We don't have to see when we do that trust fall into the divine. We sometimes can't see how life is rearranging itself to meet us, but it is. Isn't it glorious? Isn't it divine? There's a trust in that. The patience that Reverend Shannon was teaching us about last week. And a trust that even though I can't see it, I know it's happening. So this thing that I learned from Michael and the lilies is about the circulation of love. It is about the circulation of grace. And we know how this works in our finances. We know that a gracious giver gives and receives. A gracious giver gives and expects with a joyful expectancy. They are open to receiving their good, right? Well, the same is true in our relationships. A gracious giver knows how to give love in order to receive love. The same is true in our community. A gracious giver knows how to show up and clean the grounds and receive so much gratitude and experience the joy that comes from having a clean and beautiful home to come home to. Right? A gracious giver understands this law of the divine that Michael and Chris understand in the garden. That what we plant grows if we show up, when we give it attention, when we give our gifts to it, and when we let love do its alchemical work. Now, we don't have to see to believe. We have to believe to receive. Let's pray on these things. Let's pray on these things. I'd like to invite the practitioners to come forward. While the practitioners are coming forward, I want to thank Michael for this talk. And I want to thank Chris for the lilies. And I want to acknowledge that in this discussion that we've had about Chris and his lilies, it might have brought up something tender for you. A person who might not have left lilies for you. And that's okay. The thing that I want to say as we move into prayer is that that thin veil between this plane and the next, it doesn't exist in hearts. It doesn't exist in hearts. And no matter what the relationship is or was or could have been, what I know is that love is there if you show up. When you show up as love. So the invitation today becomes for each of us to gain access to the love within, the wisdom within, the God within, and to show up with that love, knowing that it returns to us multiplied abundantly. And so how good it is, how very, very good it is to turn our attention to that love, to that spirit, to that wisdom, to that grace that is God, that is spirit, that is universe, that is love itself, the infinite love that is God, beyond comprehension and absolutely unconditional love. What I know is that this love, this grace, this God, this Spirit, this universe, it is already shown up. It is already there. And that as each one of us expresses our version of it, we get to show up too. We show up as love. We show up as grace. We show up in the fullness of life, in the fullness of loss, in the fullness of celebration. And we learn to recognize that as each of us walks into that room, the love is already there. And our presence magnifies the good. And so this morning, I celebrate the difference makers. I celebrate each one of us that shows up as love in this world. I celebrate all of the places that are learning about, exploring, and growing in this love. And I turn my attention for a moment to all of the hurting places and to all of the hurting people. And what I know is that God is already there. And as each of us shows up in our own unique and wonderful capacities, as each of us trusts the divine in us to express, the world is made new in a vision of wholeness and oneness and peace, 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 peace. For this activity of the divine this day, I am profoundly grateful. For the activity of love that is this community, I give great thanks. And over all of it, I speak a word of blessing. How blessed it is and how blessed we are. And so it is. Blessed be. Blessed be. Thank you, practitioners. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you. All right, y'all. This is our time for conscious giving. And I want to thank all of you who are gracious givers to this community, that you understand that what you pay forward returns to you multiplied. And it might return to you as joy. It might return to you as a safety in knowing that this community will be here the next time you need to be inspired and uplifted and loved. It might just return to you as the knowledge that you are providing a space of love in this world, and that not everybody has that. So however you are giving, whatever you are giving, what I know is that it returns to you, and I bless it all. And so I want to thank you for your gift. There are many different ways you can give. If you're joining us online, you can go to our website, newthoughtcsl.org. You can give there. You can text to give at 503-966-3236. But whatever yours is to give, let's speak a word of blessing on it, shall we? From the love of pure spirit within me, I bless this gift. I send it forth to heal and bless and prosper. It does good work in the world and returns to me multiplied abundantly. And so it is. Please help me welcome Lori Jones.
Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me, and I'm feeling good. I'm feeling so good. fish in the sea, you know how I feel. River running free, you know how I feel. Blossom on a tree, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me, yeah. And I'm feeling good, yeah. Dragonfly out in the sun, you know what I mean, don't you know? Butterflies all having fun, you know what I mean. Sleep in peace when day is done, that's what I mean. And this old world is a new world and a bold world for me, yeah, yeah. Ooh, for me. Oh, stars when you shine, you know how I feel. The scent of a pine, you know how I feel. 'Cause freedom, freedom is mine, and I know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life, and a new way for me. And I'm feeling good. Are you feeling good out there? I'm feeling good. It's a new day. I'm feeling so free. Life is so new now. Yeah, I'm feeling
Lori Jones and the New Thought Messengers. Welcome home, my friend. Welcome home. Hey, we have something really special happening today called Festive Fifth Sunday. It's fun to say and it's fun to do. Listen, once every quarter there's a fifth Sunday of the month, and we thought what a special opportunity to turn that into a fundraising opportunity where those of us who love this community, who receive inspiration from this community, who don't know what we would do without this community, can give a little bit above and beyond, give a little bit extra. So today is our fabulous fifth Sunday. And so if you are here in the building, there's going to be an opportunity for you to give downstairs during a very special event happening. It's the Ice Cream Social. It's the fabulous fifth Sunday Ice Cream Social. I did that. I got that out. Listen, we're being called to give above and beyond a little bit right now. And for those of us who have that to give, I'd like for you to consider doing that. And if you don't, have some ice cream anyway. But the Ice Cream Social is a way for us to thank you for the gift that you give that makes all of this possible. For those of you who are online at NTCSL Colorado, y'all are having an Ice Cream Social too. Thank you so much. You can go onto our website if you would like to give a little bit more to support this activity of the Divine this day, newthoughtcsl.org. So let's see. If you go to the home page, there's a graphic on the front that says Fifth Sunday, and the stewardship team invites all of us here and in Colorado to an ice cream social. So we have all kinds of ice cream, sugar-free, dairy-free, fat-free, gluten-free, and options that are full of sugar, full of fat, full of gluten, and full of dairy. Enjoy.
A couple more announcements before you go downstairs and find that sweetness. That will be lovely to be in community doing that together. Perfect on a Sunday. It's time for our annual used book sale. The inventory comes from the books that you donate. So now's your opportunity to clean out your bookshelves of gently used books and release those that no longer serve you. Bringing book donations to the bookstore, which is downstairs, now and next Sunday, July 7th. Book categories include all New Thought, spiritual books, nonfiction, and fiction. So everything goes. See Carol in the bookstore if you need more information. You're invited to our community meeting next Sunday, the 7th. It's at 12:30 p.m. Pacific time. A light lunch will be available in the community hall after service, and then return to the sanctuary for the meeting. It will be live streamed. Go to our website, newthoughtcsl.org, for the link. And lastly, registration is open for the summer certified class facilitated by practitioner B. Westcott Curl, Exploring the Roots of New Thought. It's a 6-week class that provides the student with a view of the historical roots of New Thought and the teachings of Ernest Holmes. It's a prerequisite for anyone interested in potentially taking practitioner training. There we go.
Thank you so much, Practitioner Terry. What a fun day to be in community. I want to thank all of you who have joined us here in person. And I'd like to thank all of you who made community happen online this day. I know there were some technical glitches. I'm so glad you stayed with us. I want to say hello to NTCSL Colorado. My love to you today. And people are also watching all around Oregon, Arizona, Florida, and all the other places that people watch. Thank you so much for being an important part of our community today. I want to thank our online moderators, Practitioner Lori Nazarino and Cindy Gomez. For those of you who are here in the room, we're going to have prayer available. If there's anything on your mind or your heart, whether that's something you want to magnify and celebrate or something you're ready to heal, something you're ready to let go of, our practitioners can help you do that. I'd like to invite the practitioners who will be available for prayer up to the front now. And for those of you online, you'll also have an opportunity to pray with a practitioner. There's a link in your chat box that'll take you straight to a Zoom room, a Zoom space, and you'll be put into a private room with a practitioner for a prayer as well. So please avail yourself of that. That's what our practitioners are for. We're here to serve. It's what we do. So for those of us here, this sanctuary is going to turn into a quiet space for prayer and meditation as soon as the service is over. So I invite you to either stay for prayer or please join us downstairs in the community hall for ice cream and coffee and joyful community. Please stand as you're able for our final blessing. Terry. May you go in the light as the light and with the light until we meet again. May the long-time sun shine upon you, all love surround you, and the pure light within you guide you on your way. You are so loved. Have a blessed week.
I really